That's cool.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Streams. We've got an amazing episode for you today. We are joined by two fantastic guests. I've got my wonderful co-host here, and we're going to be talking about hard topics and difficult discussions that may be happening between mods and viewers. It may be happening between mods and streamers. It may be something that a streamer needs to bring to a mod. There's going to be a lot of good talk today. So on that, I'm going to go ahead. Let's get started. I'm going to go ahead, pass it over to my co-host, whose name I won't even say. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi guys, you guys know me formerly as Adorkable Me. It's now Adorkably Rini everywhere. I decided to go through with the name change, so my branding is consistent across all platforms, which you know is the golden ticket on everything. No numbers. Luck down on that one too. But yeah, I'm Rini. I'm here on Shimmer Square with Wes every Tuesday, and then in the mornings you can find me with this guy down here, Mr. McLaffyTaffy.
Hey everybody, what's going on? I am Taffy. I played The Binding of Isaac and have brainwashed a bunch of otherwise very nice people into giving me more money than I deserve to play right now Rockstar's Red Dead Redemption 2, which I've been completely blind to and am living through for the first time, so that's pretty great. So yeah, that's me. I'm a guy who plays games.
This is Tuya interrupting, but we're gonna cut it down to Hunter.
I would rather the cat replace me for the duration of the show.
She's
Frankly,
fine.
probably better content. I am typically known as TheHunterWild. Sometimes remove the because it's got a little bit of pretense, but I tend to roll with the pretense. It fills my ego. Co-owner of Streamer Square itself alongside Loco. Run my own channel, of course. We're on twitch.tv/TheHunterWild. Streaming a variety of games, usually community and conversation-centric. For 5 years now, I think. Ish.
Yeah, Taffy just hit his 5-year mark too.
Yeah, high five anniversary time.
5 years partnered in March.
Nice.
So,
me too.
So y'all have seen some things. Oh, do you have like the same partnerversary?
March 22nd?
I think mine is March 18th.
Okay,
So
rub
close,
it in.
yeah.
So pretty close. Pretty close.
Way before you had it.
I waited for whatever number you. If we had to do them at the same time, it would have been March 11th. What did he say? Mine was before
March
that.
23rd.
It's
Right before that.
important that I win this.
So especially with 5 years of being a partner under your belt, I'm sure y'all have had to have some hard discussions with your mods. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. It's going to be some interesting stuff. It's going to be some really fun stuff. Rini, do you want to go ahead and get us started on the first topic?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've kind of brought up a few times during this modcast is the idea of having mod meetings and whatnot. There's pros and cons to both, and I'm kind of curious, do either of you guys have mod meetings? I mean, I know Taffy's answer because I am a Taffy mod, but I'll let you guys go into it. Maybe Hunter, how about you start with whether or not you do mod meetings?
Mod meetings are had. Do I do them? No.
That's a negative, Ghost Rider. The pattern is full.
Yeah.
I mean, like it's. So we have our hosts are so terrific. There's a page and a half of notes, and I looked at them and I was like, God, these are all thought provoking, and it just goes to show you how much professionalism is out there on Twitch. And holy God, I do none of this. So like, I'm looking at it like, oh yeah, yes, mod meetings. That sounds very efficient, but I don't think I didn't even have meetings when I've like thrown people out. I've just been like, yo, it's not working. You got to go.
Wow.
They're like, all right, that sucks. I probably deserve that. I'm like, you did. You were bad. Bye. But like, it would behoove me. I'm sure it would benefit me, but I think a lot of it is that I spend so much time in shock that I have anybody who wants to do anything to help me. Like, it's pretty self-policing. Rini's done some really crazy stuff. I forget. I'm gonna put Loco. I'm gonna put Loco brackets on this. Rini's done some pretty like crazy stuff to better make my channel more efficient. But A, it's not stuff I would have thought of, and B, it's certainly not stuff we were doing beforehand, and C, it's certainly not stuff that, like, you know, where I was talking about today's like a 13-14 hour day for me, with meetings tacked all through the space, and then, you know, meetings with Noah and potentially meetings with partner managers and stuff like that. It can eat up your entire week. And so any place where it doesn't feel like it's necessary, I certainly haven't been plugging it in. But I won't lie, the page and a half of notes and questions that I haven't entertained before made me realize that maybe I'm just a bad channel guy. Like, I might just be a bad streamer.
I think one of the differences with I'm going to say our channel, because I mean, I feel like I'm part of the family for that. Is we're not really doing variety streaming on your channel. It's Isaac in the morning, and then we're going through a set game in the afternoon. So we have such a good formula there that there doesn't really need to be a meeting as much. And when we do need to check in on things, you're very present in mod chat, which
That's true.
Having that Discord there is always helpful.
Yeah, that is the formula for creating program kind of writes itself these days. And I try at least once a day. I go through, and there are 3 major general high traffic areas in Discord, because I don't have time to, like, there's like 30 channels in Discord. So there's no way I can keep up with all that. That Discord took on such a life of its own that when I didn't stream for a year, I came back and the Discord channel was more hopping than my channel had ever been when I left. And it had just taken on a life of its own. So it's, you know, general discussion, sub chat, mod chat. And I check those each day during my downtime and make sure to be, like, talking to people. But yeah, you know, any meeting, I feel like, unless there was some, like, major stuff that needed to be discussed, would be kind of masturbatory, really, because, like, our programming lays itself out, and then occasionally I pull the trigger on, hey, Saturday I'm going to do something different, and that's really about all that needs to be discussed normally.
So the mod meetings that we've had, they're typically run by my manager, and he's doing a bit of top down, but there's a lot that comes from the bottom up. Issues that have arisen, how they've been resolved, if they've been resolved, if they haven't, how to tackle some of those things. And a lot of that is internal, to my understanding, like how one mod may have done a thing, or not, uncertainty for how to deal with a particular situation. And collectively, it seems like they work toward resolving those things themselves. We do have a hierarchy within the mods themselves. So there's a mod of the mods sort of collectively, and that's got a bit of, you know, like, what do you call it? There's like the veteranship thing, you know, people who've been there for a long time.
Yeah.
That everybody, like, knows to kind of defer when it's like, it doesn't really work that way. And then my manager at the top, like, I'm not at the top, manager's at the top. I'm somewhere down toward the bottom of where that fits.
Yeah, I would say lower middle third for me.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's an established. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's interesting with the hierarchy, because like in Taffy's there really isn't one, and then I got thrown in as a mod, and I tell people before they mod me a lot of times now that I am a force of nature sometimes, and you might have to rein me back because I like doing organizational stuff.
Yes, you do.
Hunter knows this too.
Big fan.
But I sometimes wonder, though, like, if I'm going to be stepping on older mods' toes, because I have had some times where I butt heads with older mods because I would vent in mod chat of, like, oh, this person did this after I did this. Like, oh, well, you just need to do this. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. I teach people how to mod.
Well, the crazy thing, the crazy thing that I've recognized too is that, while I appreciate people who are kind of grandfather claused in as the folks who have been around the longest, the true hierarchy for me is not chronological so much as it is the people who are actively busting ass.
Oh, sure.
Like, because I like, as of right now, because I'm providing for a family of 4 and I'm the lone source of income, I'm not in a situation where I can turn around and be like, hey, here's the check, do the things. So this is all voluntary. So the people, again, I'm shocked that anybody wants to be there. So the fact that anybody feels fired up. I had 2 mods at one point that were cranking out weekly highlight videos that they're taking to YouTube. that they one would download all the clips and then the other would cut it up and upload it. And my job was to put a description and a thumbnail on it. And that was it. And I was just like, so long as you recognize that YouTube made me $13.17 last year, and that I like, even if I said like, you can have the YouTube proceeds, I make nothing on YouTube, and that you're just doing this because it's a fun thing you want to do for the community. But yeah, like the mods that are in there doing that kind of stuff, the mods that are helping me keep my mortgage paid and my family fed, those are the ones who get clout with me. And that dynamic has shifted as years have gone on, because sometimes it was the person who had been there the longest who really did feel a sense of ownership about the thing. And then you've got Rini, who comes in and she's been there for a few months and just goes, oh, I've got plans for this place, and just starts whipping a paintbrush around. And I'm like, fuck yeah, do it, go. And somebody's like, well, I don't like that she's. I'm like, you get to be quiet now. You get to be quiet because she's working and I just want to watch.
Yeah,
That is
like I
the
came in
perfect
there and was like,
description.
oh, hi, I made you a Trello board. He's like, what's a Trello board? He's like, oh, this is a Trello board, which we don't really use as much anymore, but
It got
And he was
chaotic there for a
probably
minute.
like, well, I made a guide for all the mods on how to use the Trello board because that's what Rini does, and we
Thank
love her
you.
for it.
yeah.
So you were kind of talking about gaining clout with your or mods gaining clout with you, McLaffyTaffy. Is this something that you have like very established where the other mods know that
No.
there is a pecking order? And how about you, Hunter?
They do now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just outed that.
I've announced it now on a podcast, so yeah, I guess so, but they didn't before.
So it's not like an official thing for you where there's like, no, this mod is boss, this is who you listen to. It's more of just like your personal, because I'm sure every streamer probably has like a list in their head. They know which mods help them the most. So Hunter, is yours actually laid out? This is the manager, this is the mod of the mods, and you listen to these two?
Yes. So the mod of the mods is not who is God, what's his name this month? Dank Fuel. He changes every 60 days as long as he can, when that timer's up for change of name. We establish him as the mod of mods, so that he would be the default person to talk to if mods couldn't get a hold of me or the manager. And that was the purpose behind it. So his role is not fulfilled under normal circumstances. Under normal circumstances, nobody's just looking to him for answers, but it's on an as needed basis. And people do know that. Although I just added a mod in this week, I'm not sure that he knows that. But you can see it in like the Discord. We have different roles, and so he's got one that's a prioritized role. And then the others are a mod, and then there's like the admin manager role as well. And they do all of them except for probably the new guy know that. Yeah.
I
I
imagine
onboarded
that's
the new guy right before the stream, just one day this week, and I was just like, "Yep, here,
Oh.
you want to go? There it is, trial by fire."
So I imagine that helps a lot in not necessarily needing to have or needing to be present for mod meetings.
Yeah.
Is having kind of that chain where you can say like, yeah, these people know what to elevate to me or to my manager.
Exactly.
That's.
I'm a big
see,
fan of
it's-
contingencies and systems. Irene knows that I'm just such a huge fan of systems. Get a system in place, let automation happen, have people in the right roles so that things can get to the right people at the right time.
That's just so interesting to me. From I think thinking back, I think I may have been a head mod once, but other than that, I think every mod team that I've been on is just completely horizontally structured.
Yeah.
Where there is no head mod, there's always like a little bit of reverence and a little bit of
Sure.
you know,
Deference.
this person's been here a long time. I'm not gonna argue with them, but that is just really interesting, and it makes me think. I'm like, I've only seen it one way, but I can already see the advantages of being able to do it a different way. That's really cool.
Like,
And does that really kind of help negate some of the whole mods correcting and mods modding other people, because that was one of my experiences in other chats is like coming in and someone else being like, oh no, you need to do it this way, or even having that happen in chats, which can be distractive.
I don't think it nullifies it, but it mitigates it to some extent because there's always somebody to step in and go like, hold on, slow your roll. That's not necessarily true, but we can talk about it because there's always somebody who's going to be paying attention to that. If it's veteran mods, great. If it's the mod of mods, also present. Manager, totally a thing as well. We had an issue that arose in Discord the other day, and it was like the one occasion where literally everybody was available. I was available, the manager's available, the mod. And so we all jumped into that same channel and started talking simultaneously. Fortunately, on the same page, sharing the same sentiment about the issue at hand. But it it speaks to some extent the value of having that kind of structure is there's always somebody who can jump in and tackle an issue at hand. And if there isn't, they can bump it up the line. Some mods have my phone number, manager has my phone number to be able to text me because I'm not always on Discord, so I can jump in if need be. Things like that makes it effective.
I can totally see that. I know a lot of times when a mod team's been in a situation where nobody feels that they have that final say, and then it comes down to it where you're just like, well, I guess we'll ask them after stream, but let's not take any action right now. Which that sucks. Nobody you want to be able to.
Some things can be getting out of hand in that time.
Yeah, exactly. Was there
you had a weird
glitch?
Sound bump for a second.
Boop, boop.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of in that same vein, have you ever seen a disagreement between mods where you had to step in? I'm sure you have. But how do you approach that? And was it over something like a technical, should we have banned that person? Or was it more of a personality thing?
Yeah, probably a blending of both.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Resounding yes.
That sounds about right.
It's everything with mine has always been really communally. I think the only time that we ever treat it the way we would treat like a business or like a a corporate bureaucracy, and having I love the idea of having systems and redundancies in place when it comes to so 99 Lives working on the music label or Pretzel, those kinds of things, especially when it came to uploading music and getting stuff done. So-and-so's sick, so that instantly falls on so-and-so, or we've got a question, but this guy's on a plane and we can't get him on, can't get him for another 4 hours on a call. All right, well, that's fine. Ryan will jump in and take that. But with my channel, it's been such an intimate project for 6 years, and I'm so hands-on. I'm hands-on with big decision making. If people have projects that they want to work on or things that they want to do, anything from incorporating themselves in with hey, you mind if I do a little self promo, or hey, I've got a website, do you mind if I feature it, or hey, I've got with Rini, she was I want to try out what happens when you get more than one game paid for at a time. When chat says, hey, play this, here's $100, play this game. What happens when we start doing more than one of those at a time? I give people a ton of rope on that and just let them go. The only times that I ever pull rank, I do it fast, and I do it with a foot stamp loud enough that it's we're a happy family, and I'm thrilled that anybody wants to be here, but this is straight up my livelihood, and I say yes and shut up. It clearly has got some
I'm
things.
surprised you give it that preface. There's other qualities that you add in there before the foot stomp happens.
Yeah, I mean, well, more often than not, it always seems to start in a really good place, and it always seems to start from a good-natured, well-intentioned place of hey, I respect you, but I was thinking about this, and it's well, no, I really don't think that, and then it goes back and forth, and by the time it culminates, it's that disagreement that's well, I still think that's dumb, and I'm hey, everybody, guess what? I'm gonna make the call, and I'm the only person who can't be forced out of this whole thing. So,
dumb or not,
yeah,
here's where we're going.
like
now.
me or don't like me, this is the answer because
Sure.
I can't leave.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's one of those things like streamer does have final say and all this stuff, and there's a lot of times where like even small things of like, hey, I personally think this thing should happen this way. Like we had a video of getting posted in our Discord that could potentially be sensitive, and so I was just like, I'm just gonna interrupt quickly and be like, look at mod chat. Should we post this in our 18 plus, or is it fine where it is? Because I don't want to seem like I'm overstepping because of my own personal viewpoints on it. And, you know, Taffy's really great at like pulling the dad mode into stream life too, which is we kind of need that. We need that like firm but compassionate guidance.
stuff between mods, I try to use a bit more of a tender touch because I really don't want to piss off anybody who has accepted the responsibility. Like there are some people I pulled in back in the days when I was doing BRs, and I just brought them in because I had a lot of Fortnite kids that were showing up and were just like, "Hey, you're dumb and old and fat," and I'm like, "Yeah." Someone ban them, please. And there was just
my favorite question that was related to that is, how are you so old?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
You
like it was something I accomplished.
I don't. Yeah,
like if a guy walks in and he's got like gigantic biceps and like 8-pack abs, you go, "How did you get so ripped?" Because you know he didn't start that way. But like I didn't do anything extra. I just kept showing up, and time did the rest. And so like there were people that I grabbed for that it was kind of like, it was almost like deputizing. Like the Rough Riders are coming into town and we need more folks with stars. So here and here and here, like my responsible mods hate BRs, so nobody else is here. So guess what? You're a mod, you're a mod, you're a mod. And for the most part, those folks knew their only job. And I might get one of these for I have a playthrough coming of Persona 5R sometime in the summer. And I have one guy who's like, I will happily be a mod just for Persona 5 because he's spent so much time in it and he's a regular. And he's like, I will be the guy who guarantees to be here just to whack-a-mole spoilers and backseating.
Yep.
I did that with Breath of the Wild for you too, which
holy shit, was that a full-time job?
Yeah.
Like that and Subnautica are two beautiful, peaceful games that I'm just blown away with how aggressive people are like, "You're doing it wrong." And I'm like, "It still accomplished it." And it's like, "It wasn't the right way." So there are people that get deputized that I think know inherently without us really saying anything. Like you didn't ascend to this through years of patronage and, you know, by kind of elevating yourself within the community. It's just, you were there, you're a name I recognize, and you can hit ban. And then, you know, when the BR phase went away, those people kind of got phased back out. But mod arguments suck, but like within the community, whenever like, oh my God, I dare somebody to argue with a mod with something where I agree with the person in chat. I'll ban the person in chat and go, "You're absolutely right. Rini shouldn't have said that. You're still out though. Don't you ever fucking argue. Don't you ever argue with my mod."
It's okay. That's the second one, I think.
So
absolutely,
I get heated. So
I mean, it's really nice, and it is a great thing to hear of like that our streamers have our backs no matter what. Because there are times when it's like, I mean, and I've admitted to it too, and I've gone back into mod chat and be like, I stepped out of line. That was my bad. Like I did a wrong. I should not have done it this way. And it takes a lot to actually come out and say that. But like, it's good to know that no matter what happens, like Taffy's going to be there for me. Like Hunter and Loco will be there for me here. Like it's good to know that.
Yeah, it's mod disagreements can be very interesting. I definitely know that I happen to completely agree. They're some of the most productive times I've had in mod chat were when
privately.
Yeah, well,
not
and
in
if it
open
doesn't
chat.
And if it doesn't get taken too far, if insults get thrown, whether it's in private or public, insults should never get thrown. I personally am up for a little bit of heated debate. I think there's a lot of good things that can come from that. I've never had a situation where it like broke a relationship, but I definitely have had a situation where the streamers had to step in just to say, I'm noticing something. You both need to cool your jets, and you got to be able to admit fault when that happens too, as a mod. Absolutely. Has that ever gotten too far? Tell us about what yeeting your mod staff. What? There has to be so many. Have you ever done
So
it publicly? That's actually this is just me being curious. Have you ever done it publicly, like on
no,
stream, like your
no.
own mod?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Tell me.
I'm leaned in. Yeah, do
Yeah,
go on,
spill the
Hunter.
tea.
Everybody's so it's complicated, and I'll try to keep it as, brief as possible. He's still a mod. It's complication. And I've been able to say that like 7 times. He's still a mod. So just a matter of strange, probably like, personality quirks that arise under stress where somebody would act out. So not typical and not standard behavior, but it ended up becoming reliable. Like I knew that there was another point where it would come up. And these were things that would happen on stream and so not privately. I would try to take the conversation to a private, to have a one-on-one with this individual. And every time it was like, yeah, I know, I'm, working on it. And it was very like heartfelt conversations. And there was more lead given for that. But with the repeated behavior, this was the first person that I would ban as a mod regularly in my own channel, which turned into its own kind of meme, right? Where we just jest and do that under normal conditions because somebody was being a goofball. But this was also somebody who was modded in the 2nd month of my stream, and I modded them as a punishment for being a troll, which had its own kind of weird dynamic. Because I was like, hey, now you have all this responsibility. What you gonna do? Which was a dangerous move, but it worked really well. And over the 5 years that we've known each other and been friends, he's actually matured tremendously and it's been really fantastic to see. And I think this responsibility was surprisingly part of the help. But I've had to ban him for sometimes up to 2 months at a time where I was like, I don't know if I can ever have you back on the team. I'm not sure. We'll readdress this later. And we have, and he's always come back, been able to, and but now he's a little too busy. I don't actually get to see him. He's still technically a mod, doesn't mod very often because that's how life goes.
I feel obliged to address that this is remarkably similar. Chad is mentioning that one of my most valued mods now is a guy that I think for 2015 I have a quote that says, that's in Nightbot, that says, "Oh, Stevie's unhappy with me about something. It must be a day that ends in Y." And so this kid, because he's like a young man now, but he was a kid when he started watching the stream, and some days I hated him. And so once upon a, and we can get into the deeper parts of this later, but like my channel's overgone a metamorphosis. It's almost in like its 3rd act right now. And the first time that I went from this like Call of Duty angsty, let's make the streamer miserable collective that really derived joy in like how small the stream was. They liked us at about 35 viewers. They liked pushing my buttons and screwing with me, and that was like where the entertainment factor came in. They liked telling new viewers to get out if they didn't fit. And some of the mods were like that too. And so when I transitioned into this sort of like kinder, gentler, you know what, I'm not going to have that kind of that kind of friction in my day to day. Stevie was the one who stepped up and said, "I want to be considered for the next round of mods." And I was like, "Why would I mod you? You make me miserable." And he was just like, "Well, it's my home too, and if there's a bunch of new people coming in, I want to make sure that if we're putting our best foot forward, I've screwed up enough in the past with it that now I kind of want to help clean up." And I gave him a shot, and I told him, "Dude, you so much as flinched wrong, and I will snap this thing away from you so fast." Yeah, I will so giddily rip this from your hands
Gleefully.
Yeah, I will do it with a cartwheeling smile on my face, like ripping candy out of the hands of some evil baby. And to my surprise, man, he's turned out to be one of the most valuable mods I've ever had. He's working grocery store hours in the UK now, so he's working like 70 hours a day. So we're not seeing him as much as we normally do, but
That's a heavy day.
yeah, he's putting in hard work days right now. But on a normal calendar year, he's there almost as much as I am. It feels like so.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had one that was like a bad version of him that didn't get better, and I just yeeted him. Like it was behind the scenes yeet, but like he got drunk one night and put a whole bunch of personal opinions in the announcement sections and just here tagged everyone. Like he got like belligerently drunk on vodka and was just like, here's a bunch of political thoughts I have here.
Me. You gotta stop talking about this.
Oh my God, it was so bad. It was so bad. And like, what's crazy is that like that, as far as mod stories go, that daisy chained itself where I had a very like I take great pride in the fact that I try to show a tender hand to everybody, not just people whose like thoughts and ideals and policies, personal policies line up with me. And so I had a very conservative, like ex-military viewer who came to me and was like, this is ridiculous. And like, I just woke up and I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right. This is ridiculous.
Right it is.
Allow me to go strangle this man to death with my own bare hands. I'll be with you momentarily.
Yeah.
So I went and I demodded him quietly behind the scenes, and I came back and was just like, yeah, that was awful, and I'm sorry. And then the same guy, for being this like sort of rough and tumble, vet conservative guy, got his feelings hurt a lot and came back and said, well, I got another problem with a different mod. And I was like, that one's on you. Bye.
Yeah, that's not.
I was like, you're working down some sort of weird mod hit list right now. And I was like, I'm sorry you don't like anybody in authority in my channel.
It worked that one time. Like that was a legitimate.
Right.
Like, number two, that's a.
He was just going down a target list of just going like, yeah, I'm gonna get rid of all the mods. It's one guy. And I was like, well, you need everybody else to go on a drunken ramble in Discord, tagging here to everyone on it. And like, yeah, he came in drunk and was banning people for fun that hadn't done anything. And yeah, that was a pretty easy one.
Familiar mood.
Yeah. So more often than not, though, it is a very behind the scenes thing where it's super unified front in chat, even if I'm upset with the person. And then behind the scenes, I've on more than one occasion, more so with the first act mods, because it's like, I remember watching a documentary about people in a startup, and people in a startup, it's like it's you and your friends, and you all have an idea, and almost nobody gets put in a job they're actually qualified for. You just fill positions with people who are there. So like 99 Lives, I was the legal and bookkeeping guy. I had a theater degree, but that's what I did for 3 years because nobody else could take that job.
Yeah, the role has to be filled.
Right, somebody has to do it. And whether or not I had any, inclination or previous experience, it didn't matter. It was just like, well, read those contracts very carefully and talk to the lawyers. And so I've acquired skills over the years, but that first mod crew that I had was not necessarily a great group of mods. It was just the people who were there. And then it was the growing pains of saying, I want to transition to something else. And I'm sorry, but you six don't get to come with me because what we had worked in that we had a place to hang out, but I want to make it something bigger and I aspire to more. And to do that, we need to invite in and make more people feel welcome. And you are like, I don't ever want to neuter a mod's personality, but a half dozen of the people that I cut were people who were not able to, like, I had one mod that recommended I play Hearthstone and then like shouted all caps angry slurs at me when I made a misplay because he was like such an intense Hearthstone guy. And those were the kinds of guys that I was just like, I appreciate everything you've done, but you don't get to come with me to this next step because frankly, you were never mods to begin with. You were just the most loyal viewers who were here and helping me. You were the people who were here. And now I need to find people who actually want to be mods.
Yeah,
Um,
speaking to the public and private disparity, to me, what immediately comes to mind is how certainly I prefer romantic relationships to work. Obviously, it's not a romantic relationship between mods and streamer, but in terms of how it gets navigated, if there's like an important disagreement, between myself and my partner among when we're surrounded by family, I'm not diving into that right then and there. If I disagree, or if she's arguing with somebody else and I'm on the other person's side, not publicly. Publicly, I'm right there with her. Privately, we'll
mhm.
have a separate conversation. Like, I don't want to be called out in public in this regard. I'm not going to be doing that to somebody else, but it doesn't mean that it just gets washed over. The conversation still gets had at some other point, but behind closed doors. And I feel like the mod relationship works in a similar way. It's like keep that decorum in public. You certainly don't want viewers to start questioning, the authority that mods have because you've now challenged it publicly.
Yeah.
It reduces that faith in the modship itself, and I don't want to give that impression. I want the mods to be a unified front, which often requires leaving things be publicly and tackling it behind the scenes.
Well,
Yeah.
that can do a lot for inter-mod relationships too. Is if you are the mod that got called out by the streamer 3 times in a row, even if it's in mod chat and not public, it's still it still affects your standing in a way, not like an actual ranking, like a hierarchy, but it affects how other people are going to take you, how other mods are going to take you, and I think that's very important too. I think I think we all know communication's key across the board between
Oh
streamers and
yeah.
mods, but I think knowing when to take that private is absolutely. Oh, and Carly put it really well in chat. It's a psychological blow. It is. To be your mod team is your friends and your family. And if I were to be embarrassed because, dad yelled at me in front of all of my friends and family, like that makes sense. That's a very real thing that
Shame is a
um,
big
Yeah.
freaking deal.
yeah.
And there's a big difference between like generating shame and generating guilt. Guilt over an action is fine. Shame is when you feel like you're a bad person because of an action. And I think like navigating that when you do it publicly, I used to be a big fan of public shaming, because I felt like it taught really good lessons. But the problem is it just lives on even after you've learned the lesson. It just keeps damaging. Don't bring
Mhm.
shame into that sphere with anybody, but with mods.
Yeah, and I think there's a good time too of like after you've had that private conversation, if it's a point that you need to then get across the whole mod team, you can then do it in a way that's not targeting that one person. Because
Yeah.
sometimes you do need to say, hey, so and so and I talked about this issue, we've worked through it, but I needed to know where I stand on this, and this is how we're handling this. Whether it's like, we're not going to do XYZ in chat anymore, we're not going to, like, whatever, but it's a good way to just say, just straight up, this is how I've decided. I am ruler of this little stream kingdom,
My
and this
little
is my
fief.
decree. Yeah.
Uh,
And I also want to touch back onto what something Taffy said too of mods, especially for people who are starting out streaming. Mods tend to be either friends or people who were just there, and that's a big responsibility for people. And it's I think it's really smart to be able to come out and say, you were here, you helped me, you got me to this point, but I need to go here, and I don't see you coming with me. And it's a hard conversation to have, but I think it's a smart one to have, especially if you're going to be growing. If that person's not a good fit, be like, I want you in the community, I just don't see you in this role, and that's when you can VIP or something.
Yeah. I've seen streams that I thought had all the potential in the world to take the person to like that next level, that have just been lead ballooned by their friends maintained that who have maintained that sort of like sophomoric, this is the no girls only boys club, like this is just the place where we watch my friend game and we screw around, but like
yeah.
yeah, like wearing
There's
that
a
mod
fetch to
ship
that,
badge
right?
like it's a VIP badge, instead of any sort of obligation to community build, where it's just like, oh well, this is my get out of jail free card right here. And I feel bad because it really is. There are channels that I've seen kind of go, oh, here we go. We're going to hit escape velocity. And it's like, oh, no, these people around this person are gross. And then you see it just kind of tail back off. And it's like, oh, I don't know if they know it's not them. They're running a great stream. Like, I'm really entertained, but like, I'm hesitant to say anything in chat because I don't want to draw the attention of these jackholes around you. So
as a streamer, would you have that conversation and not trying to necessarily single them out, but that mod that you modded because they're your friend and they were around and you needed someone who could click the ban hammer when someone drops a huge emote wall of you know what, or do you have a conversation with them and say, hey, this is where the channel needs to be, so this is what I'm gonna start expecting of my mods? Do you think you can meet me there, or is now a good time for us to part ways? Because I feel like you both had a story of someone who kind of turned around and grew up with you, right?
Ultimately, more than one for each of us, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a living document. I was actually trying to find the other day, and because of my weird organization, couldn't find it. A living document for the mods that has been shaped and reshaped over the years. That mods contribute to, I think, mostly secondhand, like informing me of changes that need to be made in general, or we're having a conversation about changes that need to be made. For instance, moving away from gendered terminology in the chat, trying to avoid various memes that most people don't even know are ultimately in mockery of trans folks or people on the autism spectrum, things like that. You don't even know the meme's origin, but it could be hurtful to other people. So installing that into a document that everybody can reference, all the mods can look to and feed into based on their experiences, that helps inform new mods and old mods alike. How do we handle this? What's the attitude and approach for this particular type of situation? There's something there. And it's not like a strict set of rules. You know, it's like, here's the vision, here's guidance, here's the authority that you have, here's how we talk about it. Boom. And that gets modified over time, which I think has been very productive.
It is a sliding scale of reactions for me. I've had sit down conversations with people that I've basically said like, hey, you and I've been butting heads a lot. Like, this isn't really working out. I'm not mad, but I think it would be a load off my shoulders if you took some time and went and did your own thing, or just kind of went back to enjoying the stream and not worrying about it. And some people have been okay with that. Some people have disappeared without a trace. And then there are some places where it's like, people who have gone away for a long time, or people who were there once upon a time and aren't anymore. I just go through and I'm looking at it now on my list. I'm like, oh, right, I cleaned house. And I was like, why is my mod list so short? I'm like, oh, I cleaned house. There's not a lot of mods left that I can't tell you actively why they're not in the channel anymore. There's no speculation about that. And I feel bad. There was one guy that I probably should have said something to, that I brought on as one of the like BR banhammer guys who couldn't really even make it there during the BR days and was apologetic about it. But he's like, hey, I'm not really here anymore. And I just like, oh yeah, you're right, you're not. Boop boop. And I was like, oh, I should have at least said something. So, but I mean, yeah, it's run the entire gamut of just like, I've got people that I don't mod because I like them better as a viewer, because there's definitely a pecking order within the viewership. And then somebody said, I've seen, somebody in chat said, I've seen situations where people who didn't want to be modded gotten modded because the streamer thought it was like this grand reward and gesture, but it ruins their viewing experience. Because now all of a sudden, without really even being consulted, they're just like, oh, well, I guess my hobby is a part-time job with no pay. I don't like, what do I do now? And so,
well, it's kind of like the Stanford prison experiment too, right? It's like when authority shows up, you're by our natures, we tend to shift our behavior just because you now have authority.
Yeah.
Like, you're not out there looking to be a cop, but if you suddenly have a badge and a gun, like you now change the way that you interact with society as a whole.
Yeah.
Which is also true of streams.
Yeah, absolutely.
So even like, because I mean, I'll be in Taffy's stream the entire day, but I'm not active the entire day. I'm active more for like a set period, and then I tend to lurk for a while, but I'm always there. And then I'll start noticing like if I haven't seen another mod sword in X number of minutes, I'll just say something
Hop in,
random,
yeah.
just so people know that hey, a
Hey,
mod is
mods
still
are
here.
here.
Well, it's a nice signal flare to me too, because honestly, if I have a week, say I have a week where viewership's high, and there are a half dozen times in a week where I'm just like, you know, it'd be kind of cool. Let's give away a game code. You know, it'd be
Mhm.
kind of cool. Let's poll this or whatever. None of these are things that I cannot handle on my own, and my chat will not crucify me if I stop and say, give me 2 seconds to set up a giveaway on Nightbot. But that's like, if that happens like a half dozen times in a week, I go, oh, well, I got to start thinking about adding a new mod or two because nobody's here. And that's fine because you guys don't owe me jack. But I got, like, if somebody's willing, I got to grab someone.
That's the balance, right? It's like you don't owe
Right. Someone's
me,
got to be there.
but something
Mhm.
has to happen because that's a need.
Right. And so, you know, Reenie popping in and just being like, unicorn farts. And I'm like, hey, there's Reenie. You know, it's like, she's miles away, I can tell right now, but she said hi, so I know that she's nearby. If I just go, Mod, save me, someone's gonna
Yeah.
run in with her cape out and be like, yeah, we got you.
Yeah, and typically a lot of times if I'm lurking to the point of where like I might not have the chat open because I'm on a different tab doing something, I'll just flat out say, literally yell for me because that means I have your audio on and I just need to hear my voice or not my voice, my name pop up. And I mean, it's my name's kind of become a meme in Taffy's chat, but like it's something that draws my attention to it immediately, like whenever he yells for me. And so I know to just like pay attention then.
I can't tell you how many times I've unminimized a stream because I a lot of times I'm working from home, I'm working on another project. You all know we have other things going on in our lives, but I know so many times I've pulled it up just because I hear someone go, mods? Is there a mod? And then you just immediately go back. So I know I'm not the only one who a lot of times can only keep an ear on, or something that was mentioned earlier. If you don't see a mod in chat, a lot of times, and this actually kind of goes hand in hand with being modded, either if you weren't expecting it or if this was your source of fun and you don't want it to be a part-time job. A lot of times mods are just watching chat. Like, I don't pay attention to a lot of what's going on in stream anymore, especially during like busy times. If it's front page, like, you can ask me what happened during the stream, but like I don't really know. I can tell you what happened in chat. But I can't really, I'm not watching the stream for watching the stream anymore, which is a very interesting thing to deal with. Especially if don't give mod to people who don't ask for it.
Well, one of the interesting things too is like I've been in Taffy's channel for over a year now. He's a full-time Isaac streamer. I still don't know what's going on in the game. Like,
Yeah.
because I realized like even before I was modded, I'm not there to watch Taffy play Isaac. I'm there for the community. I'm there for Taffy because he's just funny and entertaining. And I'm finding that true to be of most every streamer I watch now. Is like I'm not necessarily there for the game. Like sometimes I might be there that moment for the game and that streamer because there's two or three people on. I'm like, oh, but I like this game better than that game, so I'm gonna go spend time in this person's stream. But it's kind of nice being a mod and not necessarily having to worry about being entertained by the gameplay because it's just one less thing on my plate now. It's just more of a I'm here to join in with the stories. I'm here to drive conversations in chat. If I need to or want to, I can be doing some work stuff on the side. Or a lot of mornings now, like I'm playing Animal Crossing while Taffy's doing stuff, and then I just set the game down in my lap and go back into chat, and it works fine.
Yeah. Yep. Um, let's jump back in. We've got a couple more questions about like moderator and streamer interactions in your private discords, because there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. Obviously, there's a lot of discussions. There's some disagreements. So what was the one that I was looking at of here? Oh, what do you? How do you personally, and I know this is a very personal question, every streamer is going to handle it differently. How do you feel about mods venting in mod chat about particular viewers or about particular actions taken by specific viewers? Are you all
in
for
mod
it? Like,
chat or in like in like a public arena?
In mod chat.
completely private
In mod
mod
chat?
chat.
So long as there's So long as there's an end goal, like so long as like
Purposeful?
yeah, if it's purposeful, then I can get behind that because I not to sit here and say that not everyone's time is valuable, but I really am in a spot where I'm carving days into half hours, and so if I'm going to sit down and take 10 minutes to address, well, so and so just rubs me so much the wrong way, it needs to be leading towards an actionable idea at the end of like, I want to try something that I think might mitigate this behavior. And then here's a thought. And I
Totally
really
agree
don't
with
mind
that.
people blowing off steam, but like let that be in a DM and be like, hey, I just need to blow off steam. This person is driving me absolutely bananas. And I'll go, you know what? I'll see what I can do about it. I'm always here to listen to you. But if you introduce that into the group dynamic of having 15 other people or 10 other people in there, and now it becomes this like rolling gripe fest or something like that with no
Matthew,
real
how many
point.
channels do you have for your mods?
Just the one, I think.
Okay, I introduced the second one, the mod sewer.
Oh, and it's just where like grimy, ugly thoughts go to die.
Non-actionable, irrelevant
Nice.
stuff. Irrelevant in terms of like what mods need to pay attention to, things they need to communicate for modship, for moderating
That's
itself,
a
or to me.
beautiful thought.
Yeah, it's a second one. So if you want to get in there and you want to just talk crap about something I did, like that's fine. I don't go into the sewer. I don't get my feet wet. That's not happening. That's for them.
So honestly, I don't know if you can keep me out of it, but keep me out of it and gripe about me. I don't, go there.
Yeah.
I don't like
Yeah.
me either. Like be down there.
It's like I kind of want to make this
It's a
right
good
now,
one.
but I'm like, I know if I do it at this moment, I know exactly who's going to be pinging, and they're like, "What is this about?" And I don't have time to explain it. But that's kind of
Yeah.
perfect. Like having, like I know for Streamer Square stuff, we have sort of this all staff social area where like we can kind of just chat beyond business. But having that just for a mod team in a stream Discord, like that's kind of perfect because sometimes you need to have that social time and just vent or do whatever and just talk as mods, but not actually be mods for that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to be able to reference stuff that's relevant, right? Like if somebody has an issue that needs consideration from other mods about a viewer, that needs to go in the mod chat. They need to talk about that and discern, action to take, and attitude and approach. But if they're just like not happy with something, you don't need 20 minutes of 300 chat lines where then the
Yeah.
relevant information is it's gone.
Oh yeah,
They're
yeah.
gone there.
If you're trying to skim through after stream, good luck. Like we've been talking about this for an hour and a half now. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I will say I think there, especially when your mod team is close and you bounce a lot off of each other, I think it's very healthy to be able to say, hey, so and so is driving me nuts today. There have been times I've been in multiple situations, not saying that this is necessarily the end goal of those types of comments, but I've definitely been in situations where it's like, so-and-so is driving me crazy and they just sent me a DM. And then 3 other people go, wait, they're DMing you too? And then all of a sudden we're like, okay, wait, no, actually this is a problem. This isn't just me being annoyed today. This is a problem. So there is, I love the idea of a mod sewer though. We need that. We need that.
That's kind of genius.
Mm-hmm.
Really
we're gonna have that, I think, too.
Here,
Yeah,
watch me, watch me
Watch
work,
you-
Reedy. This is how I bail you out. I go, hey, Reedy, would you make us a channel called Mod Sewer? We'll explain later. There we go.
That's
And-
perfect.
We'll just clip that and post it later.
Yeah.
Boop.
Is there anything that's off limits in your in y'all's mod chats? Even like discussing among friends, do you keep any stream rules? Do you say, or do you jump in if there's like, hey, let's not get into politics among the mods, or is just everything fair game?
It's mostly business in mod chat for me. Like if you want to have casual conversations, again, I'm check if I see mod chat lit up with messages, I assume something's wrong. Otherwise, go to the general lounge area, chill and talk there. I will skim all of that. And if somebody's had a rough day, I'll chime in and say, yo, I'm sorry that happened. If somebody made a dope meal and was proud of themselves for really hitting the recipe, I'll let them know. But like I go to the main lounge area and go, this is my light reading. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's sad. I'll make sure to chime in on all of this. I go to mod chat, it's the same thing. If I see or sub chat, I see it's the same thing. If I go to mod chat and that is a page and a half, I'm like, oh God, okay. Deep breath, Ryan, let's dive in. And then we go and reread every single word because that's super important that I know what's going on before I open my mouth and, risk alienating someone or risk picking sides. I got to know what my argument is. So for me, it's like, again, mod sewer. That's like, if you want to gripe, we can gripe there. If you want to just generally chat, go to general chat. Otherwise, like mod chat is that's my private red bat phone for, hey Taffy, I need you to blow this guy up who's giving me a hard time. And I'm like, done. I'll go yell at him right now.
Yeah.
So
And that distinction's good to hear too, because I know I'm probably one of the biggest offenders of just casually talking in mod chat.
and I don't want to make it sound dictatorial either. Like once in a while when it happens, it's kind of a relief to go like, oh, they're just talking.
Yeah.
Oh, they're just talking.
Look, a
Okay, that's
pleasant
great.
Conversation. What
What a pleasant conversation
Look
among
at the
friendly
children
people.
playing, yeah.
Yeah. So that's nice too, but if it were like 2 pages of just casual banter every single day, at some point I would miss something.
Yeah.
And then it would
stop paying
be
attention.
right. At some point it'd just be like, well, Taffy doesn't even care what happens in his own mod chat. I'd be like, I can't read all of this every night, guys. Like, I can't do it.
Yeah. And I know when I was on Lucid's team with Wes, like the two of us actually built a whole Discord server for Lucid that was just only for the mods. And it had everything from social stuff to everything, which is kind of intense. Not every stream really needs that, and not every mod team's going to be at that kind of social level where they are constantly talking like all the time. But yeah, I think having that differentiation, because I know some streams will have like the mod important, which is like the very urgent things are on fire, regular mod talk for just normal issues, and then having that sewer is great. It's perfect because, mods need a place to be social too. It kind of builds that bond.
Building that team is super important. The streamer trusts all of you to make decisions on their behalf when it comes to their stream, and being able to trust each other is just important in that relationship. It's just important in the structure.
Which then leads into the topic of mod clicks. This is something that, like, I know Wes and I have talked about a little bit. Like, what do you do when your mods are becoming clicky either in your own chat or if you're on a team stream? Like, you want your mods to play nice with the other mods, too, in the other communities. And I think that's a really hard thing, too, is getting your community to integrate with a team's community. Like, the mods have to lead that charge. At least in my opinion, I think the mods need to lead the charge.
If my mods have clicks, I don't know about it, and that probably says as much about me as it does about my mods. Okay, within Catalyst, right? I kind of like that my mods are clicky. I kind of like that my mods roll up in a place like a street gang. Like that brings me joy a little bit, so long as they're not being disrespectful. And like, I'm seeing all these tremendous mods in chat right now from other streams that I recognize, and I'm sure that each and every one of you is a beautiful human being that I would take a bullet for upon one afternoon of having deep conversation. But there is still a part of me that clicks within the mod group itself, I'd be a little bummed out, and I'd probably try to dissuade. But yeah, the idea of my chat rolling, of my mods rolling to like a Catalyst team stream, I'll get them matching bomber jackets. Yeah, go get them, champs. I love that. I love the pride that comes with that, because it means
I'm
that
bringing that to Noah and saying that we need matching jackets for when cons happen.
When cons happen again, dude, any mod that makes it out there, I'll find a way to get us matching bowling league jackets or something.
It's hot.
So I love that to a respectful extent.
What was that, Hunter?
It's not a thing I've had to deal with.
Yeah.
I definitely have been to streams where I've felt intimidated by mods who constantly talk to each other and nobody else. There's definitely a certain feeling, but I think that goes right along with just being with just any mod wall, really. It's always a little bit intimidating to see nothing but mods. And I will say I've been in streams where if you do say hi, no mod will respond to you, but if a mod makes a joke, all the other mods will laugh. And it does feel very exclusionary. I guess it's something I've seen more of than I've ever like really been a part of. Most of the streams that I'm in are still very friendly and very welcoming of new people, and it doesn't feel super clicky. But it's definitely something I've seen more of, and I've seen it in friend streams and just browsing around on Twitch. It can make me want to turn in a mod sword sometimes when I feel like it in that way, where I'm like, you don't need me if all 8 of us are sitting here making jokes with each other and nobody else is here.
From a streamer's perspective, though, like if someone were really trying to create a mod wall, like if they were trying to do it to box people out, then I guess I'd get irritated. But
oh yeah,
like my take on it really is if I see a mod wall happen or organically, and I don't think I've seen any instances where it really hasn't been organic. That's a huge, like for me, it's a huge sense of pride, because like Rini said, I work under the assumption that these poor SOBs are not always listening to me. I wouldn't. I'd be tabbed out all the time. And so the fact that whatever was going on that day merited their attention, when I know that these are the people who have to be the most burned out of hearing my same tired old dad jokes and glory days stories over and over and over again. Whatever went right that day went really right, because here are these people that should be the most tired of stream that are really dialed in. As long as, yeah, if somebody pops up and it's like, I don't know that anybody watches me that's not a sub anymore, but like, you know,
if they do, it's for like 20, 15 seconds.
Right,
Yeah, it's
13, 14 seconds of non-subbed experimentation in my channel. But yeah, if somebody breaks the mod wall, I don't know. I feel like I did a really good job of picking people that were the community, not the people that were brought in to lord over the community. So I've never seen anybody intentionally box out. So I'd shut that down in a heartbeat, but I don't think I've ever seen that happen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
And since we are kind of cutting close at the end of time, and I don't want to keep you forever, Taffy. I mean, I do, but your kids need
You're
food.
fine keeping me forever? I'm into that.
Yes. I am. I just want to do one last question that, I mean, it might spiral into something because it is a sensitive topic of dealing with mod jealousy. Not necessarily always with like, mods being just about other mods, but like, I'll admit it. There are days when Taffy Chat does Taffy Chat things, and I get jealous of that because I'm like, that's impressive. They do crazy stuff. How do you do that, and what are some ways? We did a whole show with Frank the Pegasus and her mod Deem, who has been in chat, about mod appreciation. So what are some things that you guys do for mod appreciation, maybe alleviate that jealousy?
Publicly, very little myself. Privately, it's a different thing. What were you? What's that face?
I mean, like, here's the thing: is that Rini is suffering unjustly at the hands of previous mods, because I have in years past, when things were not as flush as they are now, I have gone to mods who knew how hand to mouth I was, and I meant it when I'd say, hey, I couldn't be more thankful. Please go to Steam and pick out a video game, or please like point me at like like a peripheral. Like, do you need a mouse, or do you need a this, or let me do something. And I've only ever had one mod take me up on it, and he was really rough up against it. Like, he was on the verge of using like the on-screen keypad because his keyboard was so shot. So I sent him a new keyboard.
Yeah.
But that's the only mod that's ever taken me up on that. And so after years of going, pick out a game. Like today, one of my mods was one of the people who dropped a huge tip on a hype train. And so for me to turn around and try to like hand that money back in some situations has felt fruitless. Like, the gesture was nice, but it was like 2 years of saying, "What would you like this? Would you like that? You know, is there anything I can do?" And they're like, we help because we want to. And so I just kind of stopped. And it really, the only other mod jealousy that I've ever run into is I had a mod that I think, because a lot of mods are streamers and a lot of mods do this on their time. And yeah, to walk into a situation where you see somebody go, like today, Champion dropped 420 gifted subs because it was Tuesday.
Every day.
Yeah, it says like, so he thought 420 was a nice round number and he did that. And so like I had a mod that when stuff like that would happen and he was working his like path to affiliate and then trying to get path to partner and all that jazz, it's like it's rough, and you can see it sometimes sort of poke its head out in like the exchanges. Like Reenie's having this conversation with me here because we're close enough we can do that, and that's safe and everything. But the situation with this guy was a little more tense, where it would poke up in chat, where he'd say like, "Oh, I wish this happened on my channel," and it's like, wish you wouldn't.
Yeah.
Like, I will happily do something to make it up to you, but I wish you wouldn't do that. That feels gross.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. And I will say the few times that I have joked of like, oh, you have meat snacks, I want meat snacks. The community has taken care of me. Like I've got, I think, 10 outstanding stream gifts now because of your community, and it's your community. It's not like from me streaming. I haven't streamed. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. I'll claim them. But it's like the community is taking care of the mods, which I do appreciate.
Well, let me put it this way:
my too, and socially fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my community doesn't do jack for anybody they don't want to, so they are your community too.
Right.
And I love them.
One thing that I've seen and I really like is having mods put a wish list together. You can add like, say, hey mods, if you want to put 4 or 5 things on here that you may want today, but you're probably still going to want next year. So don't put a game that comes out this week. Put a $25 Steam gift card or something. And then it can be a private thing, and it can be a special appreciation thing. And a lot of times a mod might not even fill that out. They might not be in it because they want the occasional reward from the streamer, but it also, I've seen streamers use it as a way to be like, oh, you know what? This mod really stepped it up this week. I'm going to go see if they have something for under $20 on our little wish list here. Or maybe that's a private thing that you want to keep. I've seen it public, but I think it's a really good idea where it doesn't have to be a public thing, where it's definitely not viewer facing. If anything, it's public among just the mods and the streamer. But I think that's a good middle ground. Because it allows you to do something, but it also doesn't put any pressure on you to do anything as a streamer.
Sure.
I do love the idea of every mod getting a stream gifts list pulled together, or something like a wish list or something pulled together, and just being able to go, man, Stevie and Taz really killed it on this week's highlight video that they put up to YouTube for no good reason other than they want to. Man, I would sure love to have some way to say thank you for that. But then I like, Stevie's one of those guys that I go to him and say, let me buy you a game. And he's like, I don't need anything. Thanks. And he'd walk off, and I'd be like, all right, well, I don't want to awkwardly have that conversation 35 more times today. So
that's the other thing I love about it too, is it doesn't have to be something like, oh, hey, Wes, you did really great this week. Here's $20. And it's like, I don't need $20, but like if there is something worth $20 that I would put on a wish list. And
I love the idea of a gesture more so than like, let me hand some cash back to you.
Exactly.
I've never done the why is that a difficult word? Reward route. Oh, because of the route. There's the other R on the far end of that. But instead, the looking out for people like their family. And examples of this are when I was at PAX East, there was a mod whose dog was hit by a car and had a punctured lung. I footed almost the entire bill for their vet bill privately. This was a private conversation actually with a sibling of theirs. And that was looking out for them. A Green's in here. He's got a chair and a second monitor for his PC because he was struggling to he was avoiding playing games so that he could mod for the channel. And I was like, we can do both of these things. We can have a game up on one. So, getting him a monitor there. And there was another mod who a couple of years ago, haven't been able to see him in quite a while. His family was getting evicted from their house. So we did a whole fundraiser for their family. I'm a massive fan of being there for people when they're in dire straits and almost entirely privately. But I like the idea of rewarding people too, where it's like, hey, here's a bonus. You like cupcakes instead of like, you want to not starve?
Exactly.
I'm the guy who's like, oh, you're starving. Let's prevent you from starving.
I mean,
Because that always comes up in people's lives.
That's so like, obviously, I feel indebted to the mods in a very special way that doesn't extend even to people who have given me thousands of dollars. It's just the mod team have accepted my little deputy's badge, and I appreciate that in a way that doesn't extend to anyone else. But that said, like, I think this is the first time that I've ever been forced to like sit down and look at it. And so between the times where I've never had an elegant solution to going like, here's a little perky bonus that I'd love to throw your way without it becoming an awkward hug turned into a handshake, turned into a hug online. And then like, like Hunter says the same thing. Like, one of the greatest early moments in our channel, though, is that blanket of sort of caring about everybody. That's the very genetic fabric of the channel that I have. One of the first big stories we had was a guy named Cleves, who hasn't been able to be around as much recently. But he left his lunch and his wallet at home when he had driven into the office and found himself at the office with no food.
Oh.
And this is back when I was real hand to mouth too. But I went, hey, you know what? Do you trust me with your work address? And he said, yeah. And I said, is Jimmy John's okay? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, all right, Jimmy John's on the way. And I did a meal and had it sent to his office. And he was like, holy crap, I can't believe that. That's amazing. And then, the stream turned around and went, I got the cookie, I got the tip, I've got the combo meal. And that's what, and we've done little things like that where they've cropped up, and sometimes they've been public and sometimes they've been very private and nobody knows that stuff happened behind the scenes. But that's generally like my scope for that is big. And there's just never been anything drawn up that was elegant as a solution for the mods. It's not for lack of desire for certain.
Right.
But then there's also, I'm looking at my list and I've got probably 15 mods right now, of which I see 6 on a regular basis. And in 6 months, that might be different. But there's a part of me that like, I love all my mods, but like, if I give Rini a brand new PS4 and then turn around and have to give a PS4 to a person who hasn't been there in 4 months, or like at that point it becomes like, oh, well, if you're going to give rewards to everyone but me, I might as well just lose my sword. And now this thing that was meant as a nice gesture snowballs into hurt feelings and people leaving.
Yeah.
So I love the idea of having it be, I love the idea of like, oh, if everybody's got a wish list or a stream gifts list and you just go, you know what? Rini killed it today. I'm going to go buy some meat snacks and just, click. And it's like no pomp and circumstances. It's a nice little like, chin chuck and a wink from a distance. And then you don't even have to say anything. It's like, oh, I would do that left, right, and sideways now that I think about it. But it's the first time that anyone's asked for it since almost year straight of people going, don't give my money back to me. Like I'm here because I want to be. Like, don't hand me my. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, it definitely can be a little bit of a social minefield, and it definitely has to be kind of thought out and handled correctly. And it's not something that you would want your mods to come into chat the next day and say, "Oh my god, guess what Taffy bought me yesterday?" Whether that's in mod chat or especially in stream. You don't want it to be like that either. So there's a lot of stuff you'd want to work out and kind of plan for, but I do think it's a great idea.
It's a thing that when you commit to going down that road, you have to sort of commit to the plan of like, even if this is merit based, I'm still going to have to make the rounds to make this gesture to everyone. And if I don't, I'm going to have to be willing to have an awkward conversation about, well, why am I even a mod then? Because it's clear that you don't think of me the same way as you think of people who don't have to work from home right now. Like, these mods can do this because I have to go out to work and I've been really grinding my butt and your schedule changed and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, well, I wanted to buy somebody some Cliff Bars, but now I feel really weird and have to have nine awkward conversations about why I didn't buy everybody Cliff Bars. So
and I mean, it would be cool if there really was a way to do a stream gifts like service where you could have a wish list that had different things for different mods and the community members could kind of do things. Granted, there's some issue of well, the community members like this mod better than this mod, and you don't want that. But like, that's why I kind of just even though I don't really stream that much anymore for myself, I still leave things in my panels just in case someone does want to say thank you in a monetary way or a gift or food or something. And I think any mod should do that. Like, if you would appreciate having some
Not a bad
sort of
idea.
actual thank you in any of those ways, just go ahead and put it in your panels. People will find it. You'd be really surprised like how many people have gone to your channel and looked for things like that because they want to. Communities really do want to pay back their mods, from what I've found.
Mm-hmm.
And so why not just give them away? Because I mean, I know me. I like things. I like food. I like muffins. Glitch is sending muffins to everyone now.
You say that. Wait until it's 20 of them, and then all
Yeah.
of a sudden the muffin joke's a lot less funny.
Wait till you get a pallet of muffins and you got nowhere to put it.
They're really
Someone put a
good
pallet of
until like
muffins?
the 7th in like 4 days, and then you're just like, I don't think I can eat muffins anymore. But I gotta choke all this down before it gets stale, and it hurts when I breathe because I eat nothing but muffins all day long.
I will make a muffin castle right here.
Muffin Castle.
Muffin castle.
It's never not funny from our end.
Well, I think if anyone's got any closing remarks, I think we've gone a little bit over what we planned on today, and I know everybody's got things going on.
Well, that's fine. I had fun.
Yeah, thank you for being on, and thank you, Hunter, too, for being on. I know you guys are taking time out of your days of your stream and your
Don't
kids.
tell him that I took time out of Taffy's day for this.
Double dipping into Taffy's time.
Mhm.
I just overhyped myself. Listen, this is all just fake it till you make it. I'm just gonna go pick lint out of my belly button and stare into the middle distance for 20 minutes after
That's
this
my
is over.
kind of
So,
content. Listen,
yeah, this is
you're in it.
honestly the meat and potatoes of my day. It's just the 1,000-yard stare for an hour.
This is when we find out that Rory, his son, hasn't actually been playing Animal Crossing. It's Taffy's island, and he's been the one doing everything on it.
Oh, my impulse control sucks so bad. You know, if I was cheating on you guys with Animal Crossing,
That's true.
Oh, that
It
would
would
be
be on
awesome.
stream.
17-minute streams, and I'd be 15 minutes late.
That's a mood.
All right. Well, we'll go backwards this time. We'll start with Hunter and then do our outros here.
Well, it has been an absolute delight to be jamming on this show today, and I think it's incredibly valuable conversation that is by its nature, like by definition, difficult to have. So I appreciate a lot being considered and then actualized as a guest for this specific thing. And I wish A Greens were still here because he knows how excited I am for this. Today I have been TheHunterWild. We'll see what I am tomorrow. Oh, today actually, Rini, you get to say that very uniquely.
Right.
Like, because
Oh,
today
yeah.
your branding is all different. And it's
Who knows
is
what
very-
tomorrow will bring?
I have
Yeah,
to wait 60 days on Twitch to be a
yeah, for
different person.
another flip. Yeah. What did I say already? Well, whatever. You can find me on twitch.tv/TheHunterWild. Also, right here on Mondays for a show that I do alongside Loco called The Stream Scene. It's a fantastic show. We just today's Tuesday, right? Yeah, I've been struggling with the days of the week.
Yeah.
Typically 11 a.m. on into the afternoons with a variety of games, conversationally focused, trying to do my best to take care of my mods, make sure that they don't eat me alive. And I think I'm all right with that.
Yeah, that's I'm Taffy. I also want to say that this was thoroughly enjoyable, and that this is the first, and I've been on a lot of really good Streamer Square panels, and a lot of great Streamer Square shows, and this is the first time where the overwhelming majority of the conversation was not, they were not softball questions. Like, I feel like I've been shadowboxing for the last hour, and that's like that's kind of exhilarating. You know what I mean? Like, I've been asked a handful of, like, about a half dozen questions about a million different ways on a handful of podcasts. And this was the first time where it was just like, hey, Taffy, how do you feel about this thing? And I don't have canned responses, which is part of the reason that I didn't want to, like, rehash everything. I read the list of questions before we came out, but I really didn't want to like over prepare because I was like, you know what? Let's unpack this with people
Dive
watching.
in.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that. It's been a lovely experience being your guest, Wes and Rini. I play video games over at twitch.tv/McLaffyTaffy. I'm on Twitter as McLaffyTaffy, and I would argue that I'm funnier in a more concentrated way over on Twitter because I don't take up 8 hours of your day. It's like 20 seconds, and it's very enjoyable over there. Yeah, I'm live all the time except for Sunday. So if you need me, that's where I'll be. My community is insane, and you'll like them because they make me feel uncomfortable a lot. So
It's true.
It's a good reason to like
and
them.
my mods rule. So love each and every one of you. If you're not a mod anymore, you should think about that. Really examine that deep down.
That's a tough one to drop as like your last line of the show. Is just, and also if you're gone, think about why.
As it throw your
about
chest back,
that.
like really lean into the wind. Honestly, I'm at a point now where it's just kind of like I'm real. There's no gray area anymore. Let's just black and white this thing. I'm kidding.
Only gray in the beard.
I found an awkward pause moment, and I decided to make it way worse rather than shutting up. So that's me over at
Right on.
twitch.tv/McLaffy. That's on brand.
I am Wes Sisa. I am Wes Sisa on Twitter. You can usually find me modding for Lucid Fox in the very early morning, and then modding for Loco in the afternoon. We host this show, Behind the Streams, every Tuesday at 4:45 with my fantastic co-host. Now,
Adorkably Rini. That's my name.
Ta-da!
Yeah, I do communications and operations for Streamer Square, so I'm here all the time, hiding in the wings, probably organizing something and putting it into a spreadsheet. It's just what I do.
Very good.
Otherwise, I'm with McLaffyTaffy in the mornings and his channel. Next week, we have some really cool stuff. We are going back to mod school again for part 2 of streamer tools, or of mod tools. And so we're going to get really deep into Freakerface Z tools and the mod view. And if we can, we're going to squeeze in a few more, but those two we're going to dive really deep into.
Mod view is fascinating.
Yeah.
Mod View is so great. I'm so excited for that.
That's a good one.
And I'm going to teach you how to highlight everything with Freakerface.
Oh yeah, she was showing me, and it's so cool. I'm excited about this because she's going to be teaching me that portion.
Yeah.
So check back. Thanks everyone for coming. Thank you guests. Thank you viewers. Everyone, have a great night.
Bye.